Tonight, it's my great pleasure to introduce a fellow MAWDC member of very long standing and of exceptional character, Albert Casciero. This evening, Albert will be telling us about cooking morels, and will be telling us about cooking morels of mycophagy, a $10 way of saying cooking and consuming mushrooms. And you could not find a better resume. Albert has been leading mushroom-themed tours in Mediterranean countries for decades, and he's also a frequent contributor to Fungi magazine with a column named The Wild Epicure. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to my friend, Albert Casciero, the Wild Epicure.
I said this was an interesting situation for me because Tom, I gotta thank him more than anybody else in spite of the board and the invitation, because he was really very generous with his time and trying to make this happen for me. I never used before. This technology I had a couple of occasions to do it and I did it. And so I said, fine, but he really took me by the hand. And you're looking at me. Whatever happened afterward is not his fault. At any rate, I want to briefly acknowledge that the fact that I'm happy to be talking to Mo is because really Mo was the beginning of my introduction to mushrooms. If without Mo, I would not know what I know today. And especially, I'm going to mention a couple of names that may be not familiar to all of you, since most of you are young. But I got to say that Ennio Justice, the fellow who really got me into going to Italy and France and Croatia, started the thing, was a member of Mo a long time ago. He's back in Italy after retirement, and he's still around there, but not doing that well. Second of that, I think I have to mention also Noel Digman. Some of you may know Noel Digman. And she was very interesting. Judy and Tim Vigo, who all you know, were my partners in many things. We took many trips together. But lastly, I gotta mention Jeff Long, because Jeff Long not only introduced me to and accompanied me and taught me about morel picking and the rest, but the worst part of it is he got me into mushroom cookery and drinking good wines. So with that combination, I am going to move into the presentation. For me, and I guess for most of us mushroomers, the morel has a special allure. And I don't know what it is, because I get great satisfaction with chanterelles and porcini and truffles, of course. But the morels have an attraction, and I think the attraction is to go into the woods, walk for a long time most of the time, looking for these things in the middle of the brush, behind the trees, around the trees, until we find one. And then we had it made. We just bend down, cut it off, put it in the basket, and then your mind starts going. So that's when we start going. So the anticipation for me, besides all I just said before, having the fun outside in the sun, is to now imagine, what am I going to do with these beautiful things? I know some of them don't look beautiful, but to some eyes are beautiful. And my anticipation is, who am I going to share this with? And what am I going to do with them that is different than everything does everybody or at any time? And that's what I just got into, eating and drinking a little bit. So that's where I am now with these things. Okay, very quickly, I told you about the allure of the mushrooms. And I also like to basically believe that there are many mushrooms that are alive for everybody. Of course, truffles are the king of the whatever you want to call it. But I think the mushrooms have I don't know, an attraction for most people. And I just took the time. I did this for another thing, but I took the opportunity to find some names which are very interesting in the local parlance. The Italian one says it's a sponge, and I can see, you probably can see the shape of these, or even this looks like a sponge. Morels, Morgi, whatever you pronounce that, they are basically the same Latin name in another language, French, Norwegian, but the one that I want to mention is, which I thought is creative, is the Spanish one, that they call them little beehives because of the shape of the honeycomb. You know, some of them, this one, of course, not. So that I thought it was creative on what do some groups see that others don't. The other one I'm going to mention, it's Cagarias probably doesn't mean anything to you, and I'm sorry to say this, but it happens to be the representation of poop from wildlife. Why do they call it that way? I have no idea. So after that thing, I would like to move into the talk itself. I think when you are ready to cook, most people just go ahead, fry and throw it in there in their pan and serve them whatever. Anybody can do that. But with a little bit more of interest and satisfying not only yourself, but your friends, your family, and get the fruit of your work, it takes so little to really change and enjoy a bit more of, I don't know, what do you want to call it, better things too. One simple suggestion, if somebody who doesn't work much on cooking or doesn't have the time, I send Tom a sheet about one wonderful way to simply find a way of testing Morels in different ways. Get a good risotto. I gave him a good standard recipe for a risotto. And you can do anything with risotto, different type of mushroom, including, but in the case of Morels, whites would have a different addition to than the blacks and the rest. Asparagus go fantastic way with Morels, you will see in a few minutes. So it's easy. You have two passes. You are just going to eat mushrooms and forget about it, or you're going to pick mushroom, enjoy cooking them, and then share it with your friends and have a good time. So let me get to the first example of a dish that is, although it may look a little bit complicated, it's really simple. One of the, I think I did this, if I remember, with Jeff Long. One of the things that really I like, and it's hard for me to get, and whenever I see it, I buy it, but I don't see it too often, are ramps. Ramps happen to happen at the same time the Morels are around. And I think they make a great companion to have some sauté ramps and with a good olive oil or if you want butter. And then you cook the Morels. And if you put some bacon on the ramps, you cook the Morels, just saute, cream, some spicing, of course, a little bit of wine, and you serve that on top of a beautiful pork chop with those two accoutrements. I think you can have in 10 minutes, you can have a great dinner. A good bottle of wine and you're done. So that's a simple dish. Now, we get into a little bit more elaborate dishes if you wish to. And one combination that is almost French type, hollandaise sauce and crab meat, or in some cases, scallops. You'll see the next time with scallops. So I decided to one day, I got some nice, beautiful Morels. I cut it small pieces. I made a fresh hollandaise sauce, got some fresh crab meat. I mixed it all together, serve in a glass for an appetizer, glass of champagne or Prosecco, white wine, and you have a dish. And it takes, what, 10, 15 minutes to do it. Now, of course, if you got 10 people, it's gonna work a little bit more. Now, the next dish, which again, these are not difficult dishes. This particular recipe got me a prize from the March Food Contest in California in 2008. My gosh, time passes. Again, simple. Get some beautiful fresh asparagus, use hollandaise sauce, put the morel, some beautiful scallops, saute, and you have a potato cake in this particular case, but you have a simple dish. But let me tell you, this is a good dish. I do make it as soon as I can get some Morels. So now here you're a little bit crazy to be more out of the ordinary, just fry the things. So, but when you get to stuffing, you can do kind of cute things. Let's start with the fact that Morels are fragile. But if you got some nice white Morels, and you can do two things: stuff it with something that is going to cook or doesn't need cook to keep the shape. Or if not, you get a piece of bread, stuff it in there, cook it, take the bread out, stuff it with something else. 1, 2, 3, and you're done. Here you have it with a little sparrows on the side, but this is a cute one. I made popsicles, just a, to add some color there. Black Morels, but of course, I happen to be happy when I find some good offals. In this case, I use sweetbreads. Not many people eat sweetbreads. Not many people eat brains. Both of them are very delicate. The brains even more than the sweetbread. I used to get sweetbreads for a while near the market there in Colombia. They disappeared. Anyway, these are what I did with these. I just saute the mushroom, as I said before, with a piece of bread, just not to lose the place. I stuff it with a sweetbread that had been cooked and sauteed before. Make a mesh. Use a carrot stick just to hold it to make it believe that it's a popsicle. And I serve on top of the rest of the sweetbread. That is a dish. I mean, takes almost no time to do this, but it's a wonderful dish. Now, pursuing other things, as I said before, offals, calf brains are good. Chopped bread, prosciutto, scallopini, cream and cheese, cream cauliflower and grated cheese. That's a little bit whatever, but you can use whatever you feel that if you want to just play around and enjoy yourself. I was giving this to other people. You don't need to talk about these, but just experimentation of these. So this is the testing. Now I'm going to pass to a couple of other recipes that if Tom, don't get mad at me if I don't do this right, but yeah, here we go. Is it going? Yeah. No, this is.
Albert, we're still seeing your slides. We don't.
I know. I just got to close this up. I have another one recipe there. You already saw the. Oh, I'm not sharing yet. Hold on. New share. Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is another recipe that added at the end. It's part of another. Now, if you want to do a classic twist of a classic French appetizer and the best of the things, get some foie gras. I know it's not cheap, but I get some foie gras. Don't buy some chopped liver in the store, okay? I just that will make it. But foie gras, apple, slice of apple, saute in good butter, no salted, and put in a morel with a good beef broth or a good beef sauce, and cook it gently and put it in there again. It's a delicacy, and it is worth the time, which is little, and even I would say worth the money. So basically, that's the things that I wanted to show you. I would like to also say that the recipes, the actual recipes that I show, Tom can send it to whoever is listening. Now, should anybody wish to ask me any questions or that, I don't want to run over my 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
So one question was just, what are sweetbreads pancreas? Do you know what part?
I'm sorry? The
Do you know what
pancreas.
part of the animal the sweetbreads are? Is it the pancreas?
I think it's the pancreas, but I don't take my word 100%. I think it is the pancreas. Yes.
No, I think it's a cow thymus or thymus or what you call this gland that is.
I can. If the question is to me, somebody had to repeat it because I didn't get it.
She was saying which part of the body she thinks the sweetbreads are.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a gland. I don't know how you pronounce that. It's written THIMUS.
The thalamus, yeah.
the what?
The thalamus.
Oh, the thymus? Really?
That's what she thinks.
Thymus.
The sweetbread?
thymus.
Oh, okay, well, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, people in the chat. So, Albert, if people are some of the people in the chat are vegan, what's your favorite way to cook morels that does not involve meat or cream?
Oh, but most of the things, look at this pack again. If I don't know if I'll be back. Tom, where are you now? This doesn't necessarily have to cream. This one, well, this is meat, but asparagus, scallops, shrimps, and the morels there, you can't get any better. And you don't have to use cream either. You can use some broth, flavoring, wine, if you don't want to get drunk, evaporated. But again, going back to what I said initially, if you don't want to use some of that and rice is not a problem, rice is good. I do a lot of soups now lately. For whatever reason, I gotten into making soups. And most of the soups, I got either, well, I like to use black chanterelles a lot. But most of the soups, I put golden chanterelles with some little peas, a few green leaves, good broth, or just plain broth, chicken broth, or because beef broth gets too strong for the chanterelles. But they look good, colorful, tasty, and I think they meet. I mean, the mushrooms by themselves, they don't have too much fat. They're not gonna bother you unless you pick the wrong one. So that's my answer.
Tried.
Great. And do you have a favorite way that you use dried morels?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a favorite way that you like to use dried morels?
Oh yeah, well, I make soups. That's what I do, the rice. And the rices is I dry my morels, I reconstitute them and saute them. And sometimes you may not even want to need to saute if you're going to cook it together with the rice or rice and peas and a soup. I think they're very versatile for that, and they do impart a different flavor. The blacks especially give a different flavor than the whites do. I don't know whether I want to do soups with white because they don't have that much strong flavors, but whites can be used almost there by themselves and stuff with whatever else you like. They make good appetites and main course and the rest.
Well, this all sounds absolutely delicious, and I hope everyone's getting excited for spring.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing.
So for those of you who are interested in finding morels, the next program next month will be a roundtable discussion that will discuss the types and where to find them. So that way, if you take notes tonight, that you'll be ready. Assuming you could find any, which is not a trivial pursuit, I can guarantee you that. Any other questions for Albert before we move on?
Anybody has any other question, you can give them Tom they probably have my email address, so they send me whatever. And I forgot to tell you, there is the new issue of Fungi magazine. Britt called me up one night and said, gee, would you like to do something very brief just to get people started for this Morel tree? I said, let me think about it. I wasn't really too cool because I was with other problems, but there is an issue that's going to come out. I did a virtual world tour of Morel eating. So there are 4 or 5 interesting recipes there that even a little bit more complicated, some of them, but that you'll enjoy if you have a chance to look at it. I was happy with it, and I tried all of them. I don't advertise anything that I don't eat.
Okay, thank you very. We'll keep on an eye out for the fungi. For those of you who don't know, there's a fungi magazine is roughly quarterly, and it's if you want to subscribe, it's a pretty good publication, I would say.
Yeah.
So we're now. Thank you very much, Albert. We're all ready for dinner now.
Yes, I am. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be eating because I'm in a strange diet for a week. But if not, I would go and eat some Morels.